All right, we're going to see if we have any volume now. All right. Do we have audio? That's the big question. We do have audio. Hip hip hooray. There you go. All right. What a pain in the tuckus. Good. Yeah. Frustrating. I have it muted in my headphones, so if the audio doesn't work, I won't know until somebody says, "Why the hell isn't there any audio?" All right. We have audio now, so we're good. And I was just talking up a storm the whole time. Wishing everybody a happy new year. We're supposed to find resolutions, not revolutions. Although right now that doesn't seem like a horrible idea either. Alright, so we're making Turkish drop spindles. These are for use for spinning yarn. There's going to be a mortise cut in there. Have you ever cut deer antlers on a scroll saw? I have not. That would be something where you'd want to make sure you're wearing a dust mask. Antler, bone, shell, not very good to be breathing in. I've seen people who have cut like moose antler. Got a respirator handy for use for sure. Yeah. I don't mind breathing in a little sawdust on occasion, but yeah, got to be careful. Well, make sure to let me know how it goes. Do I normally wear a mask when I'm scrolling? I typically don't. If I'm cutting some exotic woods, I will. I'm sensitive to some rosewoods, so if I have any type of rosewood, I will be wearing a mask. If I'm using like East Indian rosewood, I will wear a respirator. That stuff just gives me headaches. I've got extraction on the saw, dust extraction, but I don't want to listen to a vacuum droning on, so. this is the white maple from the mill. It's right next to the red cherry. Happy New Year. Yeah, nothing was rude. White meat, right? Yeah, this is just the clearest and the whitest of the hard maple they have. So I don't think there's any white maple until it, gets sawn. And they're like, oh, okay. So this stuff is a higher grade, so we'll separate this. Yeah, I have. I've used just normal maple. Sometimes it has kind of a yellowish tinge to it, and I had people questioning whether they got maple or not. Like, yeah, it's maple. So now we get the white stuff. So I use blue painter's tape. So I'll put down blue painter's tape, and then we'll use spray adhesive to put the paper pattern on. That way I can just peel the pattern off. I don't have any residual glue or anything to contend with. And I use blue painter's tape because it sticks out like a sore thumb. The post note, you're thinking wooden letters scrolled out? Yeah, that would work as well. Hello, Osvaldo. How's it going? Welcome in. Yeah, I could definitely do some improvement on my signage, that's for sure. But, I forced Vicky to write that for me, so. Hello, Dimavax. Welcome in. It's so fast, it's in slow motion, yeah. I'm running full speed. This little guy here doesn't like the frame rate definitely makes it look like it's standing still almost. Yeah, so yesterday I sat down and tried to kind of rebalance what I do here during the day. So I made some Scottish spindles this morning and some Russian spindles. I have a big list of how many per day I need to get out. So I got all that stuff done. You bought a Marketplace scroll saw, you tried a bit of pallet softwood, too wet and thick. That was your first impression. Yeah, it's... There's a lot of not so great scroll saws. It's kind of the way it's always been. Right now, there is a whole bunch of people on TikTok trying to sell some 16-inch scroll saws that are using 1970s technology. Talking about how it's such a great deal, and they're like $100, or you could get a nicer one for $125, and it's on sale, and it's such a great deal, and these are such great tools, and like nobody who's selling them knows what they are or how they work, so they're just influencers who got sent these things. It's pretty horrible. So it's not really a sale price. That's how much a cheap 16-inch scroll saw actually costs. I mean, ugh. And then I looked, and their commission, if they sell a saw, they get $2. So people are trying to sell these crap saws. If they sell 3 of them, they don't have to pay for it. So I think they're trying to sell 2 or 3 of them so they don't have to pay for it. But yeah, $2 commission per. I think my reputation is worth more than $2. So I was curious, I went on Amazon and found like 6 different companies all selling the same saw with the same pictures. It's almost as scary as the TikTok people are trying to sell table saws. Yeah, scroll saws, as far as the thickness goes, yeah, they can cut 2-inch thick material, but they're much happier cutting something under 1 inch. Yeah, it should be light pressure holding down. If your wood is jumping a lot, you might have your blade on upside down, because it should be cutting on the downstroke, so it should be pushing it down. So this saw here, this blade here, has reverse teeth on the bottom. So once in a while it'll jump up a little bit, but it takes care of the tear out, so it doesn't tear out on the bottom. Yeah, it should be light pressure. Yeah, if your fingertips are changing colors, you're pushing down way too hard. You know, ideally, if you're driving on the side of the road and you see somebody threw away a dresser, that would be great material to start with. Yep. A little terrified, yeah. The scroll saw is way more scared of you than you are of it. You know, it's the safest saw in the workshop. You're not going to cut your fingers off. Yeah, you can cut yourself and it's going to suck, but you're going to put a Band-Aid on it and say, what the hell was I doing? So I'm actually going to get another smaller spindle out of this piece. That's why I cut that off and I set it over there. You're not wrong, right, said Fred. Yeah, when I'm doing scrolling, I'm like, oh man. I find somebody like on the lathe, I'm like, oh, I should be working. The guilt is real. So if you're new to the stream, my name is Scott. I'm a full-time woodworker from Wisconsin. The live streams, I'm doing production for my day job. Primarily, a lot of my videos are beginner to intermediate, like craft projects, a lot of scroll saw work, a little lathe work. Hopefully this year we'll start getting into some laser engraver and 3D printing and CNC and that kind of stuff. But for the near future, we're probably going to be hanging out on the scroll saw quite a bit. Yeah, you can pick up little tips here and there. Yeah, I know, the drunk 3-year-old thing. It takes what? It takes practice. Hello! How's M doing today? hopefully well. So yeah, this is a 5/8 inch thick hard maple. Stuff is nice. It really is. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt to cut because it's so hard, but shiny that is.
So the woman that wanted the 10 maple standards, she said 5 to 10. She clarified 10 maple standards, and then she wants 7 more spindles off of Shopify.
Oh, okay.
So I just went ahead and I adjusted our inventory.
Told her just to buy them.
No, I told her that I'd bill her through PayPal by the end of the day, that everything would be out by Monday morning.
Yeah. Yeah, I plan on working tomorrow for a little while at least. It's not going to be a big deal.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So I just have to finish her 6 maple standards, and they'll be ready to laser tomorrow.
Okay, cool. You have a long way to go. It's baby steps. You know, I've been doing this since 1987, so, you know. The biggest thing is when you're cutting, look ahead where the line's going and pick a point and go to that point. Don't be sitting here trying to ride that line like, you know, if you're driving your car, you're not looking out the side of the side window straight down. You're looking ahead, you know. Everything is just kind of smooth, which I know is easier said than done. So even though I'm cutting here, I'm looking back here. This is kind of, I'm figuring out how I'm going to make the transition from this point to this point. And this is a very gentle curve. I can shut the laser engraver off. So I just laser engraved this whorl here. You're like, oh man, that looks like garbage. Let me sand the top real quick. So yeah, there's a little bit more sanding to go, but yeah, a little bit better. I guess we're still all steampunky. So if you've seen the stream recently, it's like I sure do make a lot of these, this style. That's because we were running pretty low on them, so Vicky decided to throw 24 at me at a time.
Well, I figured it would be good, then we were set for the show and
Yeah.
set for the website for a little while.
Yeah. So, JP, we are working with hard maple. This is 5/8 inch thick hard maple. This wood is very pretty, but it's not the easiest thing in the world to cut. So we're using a number 7 blade, and this is an Olson PGT blade, so it's precision ground technology. It's a double skip tooth blade, but it's got like a modified geometry to it. And then they spend extra time grinding it flat. So when they make scroll saw blades, they stamp them out. So one edge is going to be a little bit rough. So they grind these to make sure that they cut straight. Normally, if you're going to be cutting straight, you're going to be cutting at an angle to compensate for that the roughness. But these blades are also twice as much as a normal blade, so they got that going for them too. So as far as the Olson blades go, I'll buy the PGT blades and then the Mach Speed, which is another modified geometry blade. But that's more of a they're like a single skip tooth. So they are different. And then other blades I use Nikwa blades, which are sold as Flying Dutchman blades. I like their ultra reverse. And then I also do get some Pegasus blades as well. So those are kind of like the 3 companies I use. -8 there. Oh, we have 16 degrees here. So we are living in the lap of luxury. Hey Mean, how's it going? Welcome in. Yeah, I accidentally left the furnace on here overnight. Well, actually it would have been 2 nights ago. So I came into the workshop and it was nice and warm. Let's see, Tyler, you like watching you make this, but when your fingers get so close to the blade, you get freaked out. Cut a finger right off. Nah, no. This type of saw will cause a band-aid injury. It's not like a bandsaw or a table saw or anything. Worst case scenario is I got to go put a bandage on it. Yep, yep, yep. Yep. I'm living in a Fahrenheit world. Yeah. It looks scarier than it is.
Poured it over there. You sharing one maple?
Yeah. I'm assuming the maple one's going to sell pretty quick. We haven't had a maple Russian spindle in quite a while. We're out of both, so yeah, okay. I'm making 3 a day. That's part of my New Year's revolution. That never gets old. So we're just verifying everything is centered. By everything, these 2 arms. Yeah, I don't know how. We're not going to get these all cut out today. So give me like 2 dozen to cut out. Hello, Jose. How's it going? Welcome in. So you might notice when I switch hand positions, I'll pull it back a little bit, and I'm just avoiding burning. If you just leave it sit kind of in the cutting position for that little bit of time, it can put a line into the wood. So I do a lot of stuff subconsciously these days. Been doing this so long. But yeah, so today was a very productive day. So I made a bunch of lists trying to get everything organized here and trying to just schedule in some time to kind of play with the CNC machine. Yeah, I was watching a video last night. Some guy was wood turning. I think it was in Canada, and he was like, in his garage with the heater going, and you could see his breath. And I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I'm not in that position anymore. That was just miserable. Hey, Angel, how's it going? Welcome in. So we're back on the scroll saw again today. Actually, I spent almost all day on the lathe. Kind of nice to be sitting down. So I just shaved off maybe like a 1/2 millimeter. Yeah, that's so much better. Hello, Santos. I don't speak Portuguese either, so. Espanol, poquito. as far as excitement, on Monday, I am getting a probe for the CNC machine to set the depth, the height of it. So I've been using a piece of paper and then bringing the end mill down until I get some resistance on the paper. Pretty much the same thing you do to like zero out a 3D printer. And it works, but it's not 100% accurate. So now I have a probe coming that you just plug in and then it automatically sets the depth. So I'm excited about that. Just because doing it the paper route, you might be, a little off. So we'll see. So I'm getting that, and I'm getting some new clamping fixtures. So should be fun. Yeah, so the CNC machine I got, it's a Shape Poco made by Carbide Create. So it's like a prosumer kind of thing. It's not a big industrial one by any means. It's got a bed that's 2 feet by 4 feet. So it's not $100 thing off Temu or anything. But I feel like it was a good machine to cut my teeth on. See if it'd be worth it, upgrading something larger in the future. But honestly, it kind of does what I want it to do. So. Hey Kimberly, how's it going? Welcome in. Why don't I get my blower out? That would probably help. So I've been testing some very inexpensive Menards 18-volt tools. Let me go grab the blower. Oh. So, yeah, this thing, it's 18 volts. And for under $20, it comes with a battery and the charger. And the charger's actually just see there. It's just a barrel plug. And then you can buy 2 more batteries for $20. So I got, this is actually a little vacuum too. And I got a bigger blower, drill. I think that's it. So, are they crappy? Yeah, but for the price, they're amazing. That drill for $18 or whatever. It'd be great just to buy your kid, so your kid would have something when they moved out. All right. Hello. Unfortunately, I only speak English, but Previet. What's the name of your saw? Fred. This is a 22. Yes. So PEGAS. So I do production work. So this one is a little pricey. I also have the 22-inch Bauer from Harbor Freight, and then a 16-inch buck tool, which they sent me to do a review on, and then they immediately were sold out and have not had any in stock for the last 2 weeks. It is like a power coping saw. Yep. Yep, it's just a small reciprocating saw. Yep. Drop spindle is what came before a spinning wheel. So you use these to make your own yarn. Yeah, I appreciate it. So here's one that's done. And this is a yarn that I've spun on it. So we've been using spindles since at least Neolithic times. So. So spindles in general come in a bunch of different shapes and sizes, depending on what kind of yarn you're spinning and what kind of fiber you're using. These are really good for like wool. Here, I can show you. We can spin a little bit. So this is this is top or roving. It's got wood chips in it because I'm in a wood shop. So they give a sheep a haircut, then they pick all the nasty bits out, then they gently wash the lanolin out of it, and then they comb it or brush it so all the hairs are in the same direction. So I'm going to take the spindle, we're going to spin it, and then I'm going to take the fibers. And with my hands, I'm drafting. So I'm defining the thickness of the yarn and how much twist is going into it. I'm just doing a short draw. So the spindle's spinning away on the bottom. So those arms become a whirl. Think of it like a flywheel. So when you spin it, it maintains the speed. Makes it spin a lot longer. And then after we spin our length, we're going to take it off the spindle and we're going to store it around the arms, come up, put a half hitch in to hold it, give it another twist, and it's ready to spin again. So the cool thing about this style of spindle, when we're done, we can take the shaft out, the arms come apart, and then we have a center pull ball. Come up, put our twist in. There we go. Now this is a single, so you would take this and a couple other balls and spin them together to ply them together to make a thicker yarn. So, and they come in a bunch of different shapes and sizes depending on the thickness of the yarn you're making and what fibers you're using. Yeah. So that's an example of a top whirl when it dangles that way, and then you store the yarn around the shaft. Spinning's the same, the storage of the yarn is different. And I kind of missed it. Sorry, Sandra. Hello. Welcome in. Hey, not a problem. That's why we're here. So yeah, I've been making these since 2013, full time. So I'm living the dream. Do I make my own patterns? I do. Yeah, so these are just kind of just crescent shaped ones. These are my standards. I make a bunch of different shapes as well. Yep, so the standards are a beginner spindle. They're made out of a domestic wood, so we're talking, I do make them out of maple, cherry, and then walnut. And then a lot of my other ones are made out of more exotic woods. Yeah. So here's an example of one that does not have any yarn on it yet. So Now I feel like the shafts, the shape of the shafts, taking a class on how to use a drop spindle at the end of the month, awesome. So being made is interesting, cool. Yeah. So there's a lot of different types of spindles. This is the Turkish. Now my feeling is like the shaft itself is kind of like a guitar neck where the shape of it is kind of your shape. I put two beads on the bottom of the majority of mine, and then there's a line burned in there. So if you look at the bottom of the spindle and you see a couple lumps, they tend to be mine. A lot of people will like burn a single line in there. So yeah, once you get the hang of spinning, it is just freaking wonderful. Spinning is zen once you get the hang of it. People goof around and say it's like the original fidget spinner, and yeah, it kind of is. Just being able to have control over your yarn. Oh, you'll stop giving away projects. So, did you got a class during a festival? I'm nosy that way. Local weaving guild. You offered the class. Nice. Yeah, guilds are awesome. So, quite a few years ago, Convergence which is the Weaving Guild of America show that they do every 2 years. They were in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So my friends at the Wool Gatherers invited me to go there and vend a little bit. They're big weaver. They were big weavers. Sarah's written several books. Anyway, yeah, just a different world. Yeah, as far as looms go, I only have a rigid heddle. I do very basic stuff. And then I have an ink loom that I made out of just anything I had laying around the workshop. So it's like all like plywood and works though. Yeah, so we're just starting right now. We're trying to get the website back up and full after the Christmas. And we're starting to build up some inventory. We do have a show in March. It's Carolina Fiber Fest in Raleigh. It's a nice show to get away from the weather and get out of the snow for a week. That should work. Yes, I do. How's it going, Nick? Welcome in. So did you finish up Stranger Things? that reminds me. Hey, honey, can you cancel Netflix? All right. Yeah, we rotate streaming services quite a bit. Yeah, I was really shocked when my partner's like, "Oh yeah, let's go to work today." Like, really? But I'm willing to let you enjoy the new year, but okay. Seen someone spinning in a living history show when you were like 6-ish. Was how you got interested in fiber arts. Nice. But the materials weren't available locally, so you ended up weaving instead. Finally gonna spin? Awesome. Yeah, so I got into this. I was on Etsy. I was selling wooden toys and wooden signs, and a girl asked me to make her a Turkish spindle. I was familiar with like low whirls. My aunt and uncle were missionaries. They met in Peru, so there's like always a lot of Peruvian things in their house. So I kind of knew what they were. I understood spinning, so. But yeah, just I only planned on making one for a friend on Etsy, and I want to make sure it works, so I learned how to spin, and I just fell in love with spinning. Just amazing. So I started selling these on Etsy to buy fiber and stuff, just so my hobby didn't affect the money I was bringing in for the household income. And then I got laid off from the job I had, and do you need my phone?
Just mute it. Matters.
All right.
And then we're gonna just take it with me.
Just take the phone with you.
I forgot that you weren't using your phone, right?
No, I'm using my streaming phone for streaming. Yeah, it's just weird. Yeah. And that was 2013, so. Yeah, I did not see this as a job. But I'm not complaining. I mean, I started working out of a little shed, a little tool shed, garden shed. Now we're in like well, it used to be a grocery store in 1900. So, just kind of one of those little brick shotgun buildings where all the buildings are the typical old Midwest downtown. All the buildings are right next to each other, sharing walls and stuff. So I'm in a little commercial building in a downtown that is pretty much dead. Yeah, the downtown's like a block long. There used to be a bank and a credit union. Both of those left. It's like basically 2 blocks long. There's a bar in the corner, and then an apartment, then another woodworking shop, then us, and then another apartment, another house, and then a bar, and then there's a contractor business in a little building, and the public library, and that's like it. So.
I'm glad you reminded me because that could have been it ends on the 7th.
Oh, okay, yeah,
So we
yeah.
could have ended up paying for another month.
Right.
So yeah, that's good. Thank you.
So, yeah, this building down here, there's 2 apartments upstairs. But I don't feel guilty about making noise because they knew that there was a commercial workshop underneath them when they rented here. But yeah, I was the first person to get cable installed down here. So I'm the first person to get internet down here. So. I mean, yeah, it's a rundown little building, which is fine for what we're doing. It's unfortunate. It's got tin ceilings, but a bunch of the tin is missing, and a lot of the paint's coming down. So usually about once a week, I go and scrape all the loose paint off the ceiling. But I don't want to spend money and fix it. I'm renting here. So my biggest fear is if I do things to fix it up to make it better, that they're just going to start raising the rent on me. I've had that happen before. So little rundown building's going to stay a little rundown building. And I'm all right with that. Right, and that's just it. Um, so, yeah, we got a 3-year lease here. We're a little bit over a year into it. Um, so, we have been making plans. We plan on staying here, but if he raises the rent, we have no qualms of going elsewhere. um, we plan on having a cushion of stuff made ahead of time where if it's going to be, oh, we're going to be leaving and we can't find a place, we're considering moving south, so that would give us the opportunity to have enough stuff to keep the business going, and then I can just sell finished things out of a box, you know, and yeah, find someplace else. Yeah. I mean, worst case scenario is I could go back into the house and set up in there. It's not ideal. I don't want to do that again, but it's always an option. So yeah, the workshop is about 5 minutes away from our house. So it's really, really close. So in the summertime we walk on days that we're not shipping. Yeah. So it's a great location, and like I said, I don't need anything nice for what we're doing. You know, his only stipulation was don't punch any huge holes in the wall. And that was it. Anything else, go ahead, do whatever you want to. Just don't punch huge holes in the wall. And not depressing, right? Well, the secret to make things less depressing is to put up some unicorn pictures on the wall. For what we do, this is perfect. I mean, we have a full basement. It's not finished, and it does have issues with some water when it rains, but it's okay for storing some things. And then we got a front little retail space, which we don't sell out of here retail. It's by appointment only. If somebody wants to come pick something up, they can. So that's where kind of the office is and where we do all our packaging. And then since we are self-employed, I've got a nice big couch out there. So naps happen occasionally. We got a couple of unheated rooms, so when we moved in, it already had a wood rack set up on one of the walls. So okay, we make little things, so I ended up taking the rack, and rather than storing things, big long pieces, I put plywood down, so I'm storing more front to back than side to side. Hey CJ, how's it going? Welcome in. We got 3 more of these bad boys to cut out. We'll cut 3 of these out, then I'll do a little shop tour. And since we're on like the little main street, our piles of snow from the sidewalk, they'll shut the road down and bring in big equipment and remove all the snowbanks. So nice thing about being in Wisconsin is, you know, I could throw a baseball from my shop and hit 2 different bars. We're not big drinkers, but the bar down there has like really good food. And we've been really good. We've only been there a couple times. When we first moved in, it's kind of a little bit dangerous to have good food really close to where you're working. So just to put into context how dead this little main street is, across the street there was a head shop that went out of business. You know, when you can't even sell Delta 8, there's something wrong going on. And it used to be a little restaurant, which would have rocked if that was still there. You have the same saw in your garage? Use the bar in Tarsia? Nice. The quick changes are great, aren't they? Yes, they are. You know, we are making drop spindles that are used for spinning yarn. Yeah, you know, I started out in 1987 with like a Craftsman that only took pinned end blades. Non-variable speed. So yeah. We've come a long way. Yeah, so I've got the Pegas for you know, for doing the majority of my production work. And then when I make videos, I do a lot of very introductory videos, very beginner videos. For those, I have a Bauer scroll saw from Harbor Freight, which is frankly, you know, a clone of this. And then I also have a 16-inch buck tool that they sent me to do a review on. So I mean, both the Bauer and the buck tool are made by Chanzen in China. They do a lot of, they make machinery for Technitool, like a lot of the Nova stuff they make. They make a lot of stuff for Rikon as well, and a lot of other businesses, like their scroll saw, the 22-inch King, their new 22-inch saw, is the same as the Bauer. It has dust extraction port, and that's about the only difference. Rikon, same thing. Well, even the Pegasus, it's made in the same factory that does what Excalibur, Seiko. Or like DeWalt is made in the same factory that makes Delta. And the funny part about that is when Black & Decker owned both DeWalt and Delta, they paid a Chinese company to make their saws, and then the Chinese company bought Delta. So they're still made in the same plant. It's just... Now, I was running DeWalt and Delta saws for quite a few years, and honestly, I just beat the crap out of them. I was only getting like maybe a year or two out of them before they needed to be rehauled. And 10 years ago, it was just cheaper just to buy a different saw. So. All right, so we got all those cut out. So we'll do a little shop tour. Start in the back corner. So, this is my little turning area. Got a little lagoon, 1216 there. So it's big enough to make everything that I need to make. The MIDI size is like the perfect size for me, because it allows me to say, oh, I'm sorry, my lathe is too small to make that. So I'm not making baseball bats or banisters or any of that stuff. I can concentrate on what I like making. Then the exhaust goes over into the next room. Come over here. So this is where we were just sitting. Then I have a computer back there so I can see the chat. I've got a little sanding station here, so I got a Jacobs chuck on basically a furnace motor, flap wheel, exhaust there, and then a couple other little sanders. Come over here, got our chop saw. I got a little router table if I pivot, so yeah, that's my computer, that's where I hang out. Come over here, we got the CNC machine. This is a Shapeoko 5 Pro. And then I do have a spindle on it, so I'm not running a router all the time. So it definitely makes it a little bit quieter. And then we have this little recording corner over here where I do a lot of beginner scroll saw videos. So we got the buck tool, 16-inch, and then a little Bauer drill press. Table saw, when I'm using it, I'll roll it out here. Since I make primarily just little spindles, you know, I'll use this to break down wood, but that'll be about it. Bathroom, got a little pantry over here. And we come up to the front. So we made a video making that sign right there. We have a video making this little key holder. So yeah, we got the big comfy couch and a bunch of you know, thrift store gotten artwork. Over on this side, packaging station. This is where we do the majority of our packaging. And then we got Vicky. Is there anything on the screen that is?
I'm just doing an update.
Okay. So yeah. So that's her little office area, and then we got these racks. So this rack is Etsy, and this rack is Shopify. So we keep them separated. So we have two different inventories. We'll come back into this room here. Awesome. So the spindles themselves get a mineral oil based finish. So they're on here drying. And then basement, the mandatory pickle rick, piano. Every workshop needs a piano. And then we got some 3D printers here. We got a couple X1 carbons from Bamboo Lab and A1 Mini. And then I've got a couple older machines that I use I give away little sheep in orders. So when I get down towards the end of a roll of filament or whatever, I'll just make sheep on them. So these machines aren't very fast compared to the newer machines, but they're dialed in and they work. So, you know, not in a big rush. Got a little CO2 CNC machine in the back. I'm sorry, a little CO2 laser engraver back there. Little photography area just set up. We're kind of in the middle of kind of moving things around. Come over here. We have a Galvo laser. That's an X-Tool F1. And then got an X-Tool S1 in here. So it's more of a gantry style. It's got a 40 watt head on it. So can cut 1/4 inch material pretty easily. Move over here. This is Vicky's drill press. It's a Viking. And her little layout area where she lays out the spindles that I cut out. It kind of brings us back here. Yeah, little Rikon bandsaw. Remember, no step. And then we had a little back room. So mainly a lot of storage for stuff. And then we got our wood storage over here. So you can kind of see we got a bunch of woods that's cut down just for spindle size. You know, the top here is all 1/2 inch. You know, we got some Paduke and some Red Heart and Bacote. So a lot of my smaller spindles are 1/2 inch thick, and a lot of the bigger ones, the more domestic wood ones, are 5/8 inch of a slip, 5/8 inch thickness. Hey, Anthony, you've missed a tour. I'll just start it over again. No, I'm kidding. You're not missing much. It's not like you haven't seen it before. So yeah. So my big extractor is here. Vicky has a sanding station that I forgot to point out. She's got her own little extractor as well. So we got the drum sander and then the planer. Then we got another room over here. These are not heated, so I'm going to leave them. So yeah, just a bunch of storage. So yeah, this is her little sanding area. So she's got a little buck tool extractor. And then I just add a little piece of plexiglass to try to keep the dust in. And you might notice we have monitors kind of all over the place. But, I want to see what's going on. So, all right, guys, I am going to go home and make some dinner. So, thank you so much for hanging out with me, and we'll catch you guys next time. And remember, be nice to people. It doesn't cost you a darn thing. All right, guys, have a good one.